contemporary culture does not believe anymore that we can improve the human condition. Yes, our postmodern world still believes in technological progress. Look at the internet and everything that's coming out. Now they're talking about bitcoins and things like that. However, we do not believe that we can create a better world. A world of justice, love, and harmony. This was what the Enlightenment thinkers used to think about. They had it as an axiom or capacity to create a better world, not for our culture. And I must confess that as I was growing up, I was very much influenced by this axiom. Communism and socialism was in the air in Latin America during the 70s. So I was very much part of my generation, and we believed that by changing social structures we could create a better society, and this required revolution. However, for 300 years the church had been fighting this heresy. The church said that without God we are impotent at improving the human condition. To understand what the church has been saying, we have to understand the concept of grace and what we understand by grace and the power of grace in our lives. I remember that the first time that I heard talk about grace as something more than an ethereal concept about the love of God, I was still a teenager, and I had purchased a tape containing a recorded reference from a great theologian, Antonio Arroyo Marin. He was trying to explain grace in a simple terms, and I loved it. It was refreshing. Yes, I think that normally we have watered down the concept and the meaning of grace. It has been very difficult for us to explain it to people. So we have failed to present the beauty and the attractiveness of what God is calling us to. So what is grace? What is this effect that grace has in our lives? In order to do justice to this question, we have to understand all the levels of being of the created world. The problem today is deep because our society has rejected the capacity of the human intellect to comprehend reality. However, that would be the topic for another reflection. Here, I am not going to prove the existence of God. That would also be a topic for another reflection. I'm not going to prove that God created the world. I'm going to take for granted that everything comes from Him, and that He created everything from nothing. Everything that exists participates in a greater or lesser degree in His perfections. At the bottom of the scale, we talk about non-living beings. From a certain point of view, everything is made up of non-living beings. Science has been trying to explore how we can break down the smallest units of matter from atoms to subatomic particles. Everything is made up of them. Matter is organized further to a point that on planet Earth, life appears. This level of organization contains a higher participation into the perfections of God. And so vegetative life has the power of growth, nutrition, reproduction. You have plants. It seeks to transcend its own existence. Eventually, we have higher levels of perfection into the perfections of God. And so we have animals that can perceive and they have sensorial knowledge about their surroundings, and they can be driven by instincts, and they can express emotions. You can imagine a little cat, they get angry, they get upset. Finally, we have the human beings. We have the more perfect than animals because they have a power. We have a power of self-consciousness. We have the capacity to create culture. We can transcend our human death in our intentional behavior. All of these powers tell us that we as human beings have a non-material principle of behavior, and we call this a spiritual soul. It is capable of apprehending the essence of things. It is capable of abstraction to search for truth, up to a certain point, undetermined with regards to specific goods. This is our freedom. There is a certain freedom in us as human beings. This shows a more elevated participation to the life of God. And then, beyond human beings, Revelation has taught us about spiritual intellects, angels. They're not limited to matter. Their capacity to know things is greater. And then we have God. His being is all-powerful. His intellect is great. His truth, His will is love. He is the climax of all perfection. Why do I bring this up? Because grace elevates our humanity to participate in the divine nature. God has desired, in a sense, to make us divine by participation. So we define grace as a divine quality inherent in our souls that gives us a formal participation in the divine nature. It is this grace that makes us true children of God and heirs of His glory. This grace is planted in our souls when we are baptized. It is meant to grow and bear fruit. There is nothing we can do towards our salvation without the power and the action of this grace. We are powerless and incapable of any spiritual growth without grace. Now, grace, just like the soul, has a capacity for operation. We call these infused virtues and gifts of the Holy Spirit. The thing is that most of us go through life without a mature life of grace. In a sense, even when we live a life of grace, it is still underdeveloped. It is when we have achieved the flourishing of the infused virtues and the gifts of the Holy Spirit that God will be able to act in this world through us. And then, and only then, can there really be a qualitative improvement in the human condition in terms of justice, love, and peace. It all starts with the individual. How this takes place will be the theme for our discussions.